Chapter number 7, Susceptibility, Reaction and Immunity. By susceptibility, we mean the general quality or capability of the living organism of receiving impressions, the power to react to stimuli. Hahnemann's doctrine of vitality under the Newton principle of mutual action, restated in medical terms by Hahnemann as similia similibus curanter, it depends on the fundamental quantity, quality, and contribute of life, which we call susceptibility. Cure consists of simply in satisfying the morbid susceptibility of the organism and putting an end to influx of disease producing causes. Living organism is much more susceptible to homogeneous or similar stimuli than to heterogeneous or similar stimuli. Patient can be cured by two ways: by giving several more or less similar remedies in succession, or second, by giving one exact similar medicine the simillimum or equal. Depends on whether treated by a burglar or expert. The burglar may zigzag his patient and finally get him well. An expert would cure him by straight route with a single remedy in half of the time. Quantity of dose depends upon the degree of susceptibility of the patient. A dose that would produce no perceptible effect upon a well person may cause a dangerous or distressing aggravation in a sick person, just as a single ray of light will cause excruciating pain in an inflamed retina, which in its healthy condition would welcome the full light of day. State involves the attitude of organization to external causes and to external circumstances. In health, we live and act and resist without knowing it. In disease, we live but suffer. Normal and necessary for the organism to react pathogenetically to a poison in proportion to the size and power of the dose as it is to react physiologically to a good dinner. Many substances are used medicinally in such form, in such doses, by such methods, upon such principle to be distinctly depressive or destructive of normal reactivity. Professor James Ewing, in a lecture upon immunity, called the problem of the endotoxins the stone wall of serum therapy. The effort to produce passive immunity against the various infections by means of sera may fail in spite of the destruction of all the bacteria present in the body by reason of the endotoxin throughout in the process of bacteriolysis resulting from the serum injections. A case of patient who received injection of millions of killed gonococci for gonococcal septicemia. Temperature came down to normal but the patient died. An animal sera whose serum is normally bacteriolytic may on immunization lose this power, the bacteria living in the serum but producing symptoms. Another example of rabbit is bacteriolytic to the typhoid bacillus but is susceptible to the infection. The rabbit is highly immunized with serum and is no longer bactericidal. The typhoid bacilli living in the serum but animal not being susceptible to the injection, the animal dies. In future efforts must be made to enable tissue and bacteria or live together in peace rather than to produce a state where the serum is destructive to the bacteria. The destruction, partial or complete, of susceptibility of the normal power of organism to react to stimulus of either the sera or the bacilli. Antiseptic in the treatment of tonsillitis increase the inflammation, prolong the disease and retarded convalescency. Increased fever and inflammation were in reality the manifestation of vital reactions or resistance on the part of the manifestation of the vital reaction or resistance on the part of organism, which is the means by the real natural curative antibodies and antitoxins are produced and should not be interfered. Inflammation and fever are not evils per se. They are merely the signs of normal reaction and resistance to a irritant and poison by which nature protects herself. Stimulants and depressant. Professor James C. Wood, veteran surgeon, in a letter to writer, discusses about shock remedy, strychnia or nux vomica. Experimentally, work on shock has shown that it is almost impossible to differentiate true shock from strychnia poisoning. The remedy is killing more than they are curing, using in small doses with greatest possible advantage. It acts like whip to the tired horse, not like rest, water, and food, which nourish, strengthens, repair, and replace worn-torn tissues. Action on the brain and nerves is well known. Power of alcohol to harden and shrivel and devitalize organic tissue. Alcohol has power to paralyze the vasomotor system, is seen in flushed face, congested capillaries, and ruby nose on the inebriate. The inhibitory effect upon the sensory nerves makes the victim insensible to impressions of heat, cold, pain, so that in extreme intoxication he falls on a red hot stove and is burned to death. These things define the nature and measure of power of alcohol to decrease or destroy normal susceptibility. Action and reaction are equal and opposite. Stimulation and depression are equal and opposite. Whip the exhausted horse and he will go on a little way and then drop. Soon reaches to a point where his susceptibility to that kind of stimulant is exhausted. Dr. P. Well, in critical cases of typhoid fever, patients suffered a severe hemorrhage from the bowels, was very weak, nearly unconscious, and had a soft, comprehensible pulse. Dr. Wells gave 6 drops of brandy into 6 teaspoons of milk, and the whole gave in 3 doses of 2 teaspoons each at interval of 2 hours to be repeated if reaction did not fall. Dr. Well knew how to correctly measure a patient's susceptibility, and he knew how to conserve the last feeble, flickering remnant of vitality in which cases and make the best of it. A patient who is suffering from shock, he is pale, features are sunken, his skin and muscles relaxed, covered with cold, clammy sweat, respiration is feeble, his pulse almost quite extinct. He is perhaps almost or quite unconscious. In such condition, slightest falls, move the least violence, is likely to force him across the line which marks the boundary between life and death. No occasion for heroic doses or strenuous measures, but rather for the greatest gentleness and most refined doses. Let patient inhale camphora, ammonia, or vinegar if only these domestic remedies are present. Give him 2 or 3 spoons of brandy in a teaspoon of water if that is in hand. Teaspoon of black coffee may be helpful. As soon as possible, give our potentiated arnica, arsenicum, nux vomica, veratrum, or carbovage or other remedy indicated as per symptoms. Dr. Well suggested never to give brandy or any stimulant with a hard and bony pulse, deficient reaction, or diminished susceptibility. It may appear during treatment and constitute a condition requiring special treatment. True in treatment of chronic disease, when best selected remedies do not seem to act, intercurrent remedies are used. Boni Hussain mentions appropriate in such cases carboveg, lurok, moisture, opium, sulf. To these may be added the typical nozzles medorinum, sorinum, pyrogenum, tuberculinum, syphilinum, and also thuja. Excessive reaction or irritability when the patient suffers from aggravation without corresponding improvement. It states general hypersensitivity. Boni Hussain recommends Asar, Cham, coffee, China, Ignatia, Nuxvom, Pulsatilla, Curie, and Valor. Aggravation after mercury requires heparin or nitric acid. Cure or successful treatment of the disease depends upon conserving and utilizing the natural susceptibility of living organism but adjusting the remedy, the dose needed for organism to satisfying susceptibility. Inoculation of crude pathological products like animal sera and vaccines confers only a spurious immunity through impairment or destruction of normal susceptibility. It results in the contamination or poisoning of the entire organism, set up a morbid condition instead of a healthy one, and lead to physical degeneration. Homeopathic remedy, correctly chosen upon indication afforded by the anamnesis and symptoms of the disease as manifested in individual and the community and considered in infinitesimal doses per organ. It satisfies the morbid susceptibility, supplies the need of organism true immunity, promoting health, which is true object to be gained.